Welcome back to the GBGuns Armory. This is episode 19. In this series, we're looking back at stuff that was reviewed in the past. I'm giving you a little more of the feels, and then we're talking about relevant points that a particular firearm might bring up. My intent is that since all of this is stuff that's been out for a while, been reviewed, chances are you've seen it or shot it or know someone who has, that these videos become sort of the Reddit thread, if you will, of folks talking about stuff that's been out for a while, after the media blitz is gone, after it's no longer the hottest thing out there. The pistol I showed you in the beginning is the Walther PPQ SC, a subcompact. It has the extended mag in that because that's how I get my whole hand on it. Otherwise it becomes a finger-and-a-half gun with a short barrel. All of the wonderful trigger and attributes that we love about the PPQs. Man, I almost think some of the PPQ triggers are a little better than the PDP triggers became. But one other interesting thing about this is that behind the breech face is a polymer insert. That section all there. Now I don't know if that's one of Bubitz's contributions towards Walther, but I do know that that's a Bubitz trick, and you don't see it very often. Of course, now the thing won't go back together. There we go. This pistol I enjoyed quite a bit. I carried it for a while simply because it was a little bit more comfortable than having a longer barrel before I got into finding better holsters and what really worked for me. Really enjoyed this thing other than the fact that it still lacked a 4-inch barrel. I say it all the time, but in case you hadn't heard it, SAAMI specs for 9mm is for a 4-inch barrel. It needs the velocity of a 4-inch barrel for most of the ammunition to perform as intended because the ammunition is made for that specification. That doesn't mean that all hollow points are going to fail out of a 3-inch barrel, but it does mean that you're not getting the same performance out of a 3-inch that you do out of a 4-inch. So I always strive for a 4-inch or longer barrel with 9mm to make sure, and defensive tool, make sure that my ammo is going to perform as intended. This thing is a spectacular gun that I don't think got the attention it deserved. I'm trying to remember back when it was released, if it was maybe right on the cusp of the micro compacts, and so suddenly subcompact wasn't cool anymore and people kind of moved on, and then of course Walther moved on to the PDP line, replacing the PPQ line, and they have yet to do a subcompact. But the question this brings up to me, especially for those of you who have experienced the micro compacts and subcompacts in the past, is why not subcompact? Granted, most micro compacts are a little bit thinner, and that's what made them hot and sexy, but a subcompact gives you more to hold on to. It may be a matter of personal preference based on hand size and things like that, but to me, like this gun, which is small, with this 15-round magazine in it, I can get my whole hand on it and I can run this gun like a compact or bigger gun. In fact, one of the tricks that was neat about this, that polymer insert that I showed you, that reduced slide mass. So you end up with a wickedly fast slide. You've got a short barrel and you've got less mass in the slide because it's a shorter slide, and less mass because you've got polymer instead of steel where steel is not needed. Lore was that this action could actually outrun standard PPQ mags, and you had to have PPQ SC mags, even though once this sleeve is off, this is basically a PPQ magazine. I've heard that the springs were different. I'm calling that lore because I don't know it as fact. But back to the question at hand, speaking of hands, how many of you have tried the micros and found them to be a little bit too small or found them to be unpleasant on the range? And if so, have you considered a subcompact? You're still getting roughly the same size, they're a little bit broader, but that extra size gives you this. And what good is a firearm if you can't control it, or it's not easy to practice with? For a while there was the school of thought of, oh yeah, train with a big gun and then carry your little gun and things will kind of transfer over. Maybe, but I'd rather train with the gun that I carry. And so for me, that makes a larger gun for carry, something that I just deal with to make sure it's something that I'm not afraid to train with, and more importantly, something that I'm good with. Those of you guys that have followed the channel for a while know that I carry larger guns. I am a larger guy, so it's easier for me to get away with, but those are also guns that I'm not afraid to take to a course, and I enjoy time on the range with, and all of that just reinforces the muscle memory and the training, and it all sinks in deeper, so that for me, theoretically, drawing my gun to defend myself shouldn't feel any different than drawing on the range. And I know that trigger, and I know the recoil impulse, because it's one that I've grown comfortable with on the range, because the gun's not terrible to shoot. So, Subcompacts and the Walther PPQ SC. Let us know what your thoughts and experiences are. Let's help each other learn from each other's experiences. Like Reddit, but without the crazy stuff. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.